Hey, PreCalc, we are going to start chapter 4. It's under unit 5, but it's because we had that extra one in the beginning. We're going to deal with some things called degrees today and also in radians. Okay, big idea. Degrees are the things on the inside of the circle. Radians is how we're going to measure the outside. Okay, so I've never taught geometry here at York Suburban, so just help me out if I'm doing too much or if I'm leaving something out. Please let me know as we meet in class over the next few days. So we'll kind of work with those as we go. All right, so we want to make sure that if something is in degrees, like our first one here, it's in degrees, I want to change it over so that it's in degrees, minutes, and seconds instead of just a decimal point. Okay, so a couple background things just to review or make that new. So 1 degree, okay, is going to be equal to 60 minutes. And you guys know this already. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. Okay, so minute to seconds. All right, so overall, and the grand idea, 1 degree is going to be equal to 3,600 seconds. And we get that idea from multiplying 60 and 60, so we get 3,060 seconds for the whole thing. All right, so we're going to first work on converting. So thank you to the chemistry department. You guys took care of most of all of our factor label here. So we're going to take this thing apart. So we have 37. Okay, so that's going to be 37 degrees. So that part is going to stay exactly the way it is. Okay, we're going to take off the decimal now, 0.425. That is in degrees, remember? So what we're going to do is I need to put degrees down here, and I'm trying to change it over to minutes. So that means 1 degree equals 60 minutes. So let's see what we end up with here. So 60 times that, we're at 25.5, and now we're in minutes, right? So what I know right now is I have 25 minutes, but I have this leftover part. And as much as I like leftovers, nobody else in my family will eat them. So if I have 0.5, and now that's minutes, what I'd like to do is take that from 1 minute is going to be 60 seconds. All right, there's a decimal point on this one. So half of a minute is 30 seconds. So what we're going to do is change this out and make it 30 seconds. All right, so we're going to keep multiplying those essentially by 60 and making sure our factor label, right? I'm always trying to take out degrees, and here I'm trying to take out the minutes. All right, so we could do that over and over, or we can just take our time and use that as an example. Okay. In the second one, now we want to go from our degrees, minutes, seconds, and change it out to plain old degrees. So we're going to keep 42. All right, we know that's definitely going to be part of our answer. And what we'd like to do is change this to 24 minutes and 36 seconds back over. So how are we going to do that? We're going to take, let's take 36, okay, and that's going to be in seconds. And what we'd like to do is change that out. Okay, so that means we have 60 seconds makes 1 minute. So we can start to put this in our 1 minute phase. But let's go ahead and set up the rest of our factor label. Oh, my 0 didn't show up there. And 1 degree is 60 minutes. All right, so we're going to work the whole way over. So 36, all right, times 1 times 1, and it's over. We got the 3,600. So what ends up happening is we end up with 0.01 of a degree. Now that only takes care of the end. So I got to deal with 24 as well, right? And this is in minutes. So I'm going to make one calculation here, and I want to make sure 1 degree is 60 minutes. So we'll deal with this. So 24 divided by 60, and that's going to get us 0.4 degrees. Now what we're going to do is marry these two things together, and that gives us the rest of it. So 4 is in the tenths spot and 1 in the hundredths. So that means these are equivalent. Now, how could I check it? Right, obviously I can use both of these ideas in reverse to kind of check what I'm doing. So if I want to double check anything that we have going on, we can easily do that. Okay, so factor label, just again, make sure, let me grab my highlighter, right? Make sure all of my diagonals cancel out the units. So I end up in degrees, and I end up in degrees. Okay, so it's all based on our preset, what we set up here on the top. 1 degree, 60 minutes, 1 minute, 60 seconds. All right, so yeah, sorry, as we get into this chapter, right, I've been told this one's going to take a while. Okay, it's going to be a long chapter, and there's going to be some things to actually study in this one, which is not normal for a math class, right? I totally get it. Okay, so 2 radians, we're going to deal with radians now. Remember, that's the outside part, so if I go the whole way around, we can measure it in radians instead of degrees. But more importantly, the thing we're going to try and stick to, that means if I divide this by 2, right? That means just pi radians is going to be 180 degrees. Okay, so that's kind of the big thing. Pi radians, so I'm going to rewrite it, equals 180 degrees as we work with that. So the next thing we'll have to deal with our calculators, as we can do some of these things on our calculators, and understand that when we want to be in degrees and when we want to be in radians, so we can get some of this work done on un calculator. Okay. But we don't need that stinking calculator anytime soon, right? So I would like to take 90 degrees and convert it to radians. Okay, so I know I have 90 degrees, factor label still. So I want this to be degrees down here. And the big thing that we had was this right here, right? So pi radians is equal to 180. So here it is, 180 degrees. And this will be pi radians. All right, so we have what, 90 pi radians over 180. Well, we would never ever do that, right? Because you guys have been around the block here. So you know that that's 1 and that's 2. So this is pi radians, or pi over 2 radians. Right? Mathematically. Here we go. All right, so you know that one was pretty cut and dry because we gave you the whole thing. Now we got a little bit of an issue, right? It has our decimal in here, but you know what? This one isn't too bad because we're just going to work with it the way it is. So we have 32.54. I was thinking ahead here. Okay, so sorry to boggle your brain here. I was thinking this one over here has minutes on it. So this has a decimal. So we're going to work the same way we just did. So pi radians, 180 degrees. All right, this is just going to be a mess. Okay, so we're literally going to do 32.54 times pi divided by 180. And that's going to get us to 0.56 something. So let's call it 0.57 radians. Okay, now, of course, if you had to leave it in terms of pi, then we would just try and reduce that as much as we can. Okay. All right, so third one. This is the one I was thinking of when I paused there awkwardly. First problem that I have is, you know, I would really like this to be a decimal like number 2. So I have to do what we did up top here. So if I have 22 minutes, remember we have 60 minutes equals 1 degree. So we got to figure out what's going on here. And that's 0.3 and the 6 is repeating. And now we're in degrees because we're able to cancel these out. So that means what we're actually going to work with is 15.36 with it repeating degrees. Again, the 180 is going to go on the bottom, pi radians on top. So we're able to cancel out our degrees. And we should be somewhere around, I have my calculation here, 0.27 radians. All right, so that kind of gets all of our factor label and that's why we had to deal with first getting our DMS into degrees. All right, we want to make sure that we are listed in just decimal points. All right, so how about our next couple here? Last 2, right? This is a short lesson today, but it is factor label and a couple things to memorize as we work with that. Convert, so here we got pi over 3. This is in radians. So what we'd like to do is put our pi radians on the bottom, and we have 180 degrees, right? So we can take the fraction and leave it as is. Pi on top, 3 on the bottom. That we can cancel out pi radians with pi radians. So 180 degrees divided by 3, that's 60 degrees. I want to make sure in the end that I change it to what I'm supposed to be in. Yeah, it says 60 degrees, so we are all set there as well. All right, just one more to go here. We got 1.7 and it's radians. Okay, we could say that it's over 1. No big deal, so pi radians, and we got 180 degrees. All right, so we got 1.7 times 180. We're going to divide it by pi. It should come out to, if I did my calculation right, you guys let me know in class. If I didn't, 97.40 degrees. Okay, I do want to put the 0 because I'm just rounding off a little bit there. All right, so make sure eventually All right, it says quiz on this. That's from an accelerated pace that we had when we weren't in hybrid here. We're going to try and get some of these conversions memorized as we work through. Okay, so I highlight those one more time. Okay, so we have pi radians is 180 degrees. We have 1 degree is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds as we work through those. Okay, so those are some of the things we're going to try and store in a memory bank that we wouldn't have to stop and think about those or do anything else. Right? And then we do have some homework. Obviously, this would be after the next time as we put some pair deck together. But if you're comfortable with making some of those conversions, notice I did switch them out to odds. And in your notebook, you'll find that you do have the answers. Okay, so make sure you're given some writing it down so you understand what's going on as we work through. Don't just give a final answer because, you know, you're going to have to show some work at some point. All right. Bye.